Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. The last thing I want to do is turn into the grumpy old man. I think my daughter would have a right go at me if I started doing that. But sometimes things get you down. And I really want to get on with my main updates of the season sort of thing. And well, I got two choices really. This camera has limitations. The picture quality is great. I've got no problems with that. But because of the lens type, I can't get in really close without getting the tripod out. So it has a limitation on the, on the what I can film side of life. But the limitation that's doing my head in at the moment is the sound. Now the sound quality on this is excellent, but the microphones are sensitive, and probably via the software in the camera, they latch on to anything that's around. Now, under normal circumstances like now, although the microphones are facing away from my voice, I'm holding the camera in front of my face, so the microphones are close to me, which is good. But where I'm standing now, just to my right, is an oscillating fan. If that fan was on, my voice would be drowned out in waves as it pulsed round and came towards the camera. The camera just latches on to that sort of sound. And to get on with my updates, I only need the sound of my voice. If any of the fans are on, the camera will latch onto them. I mean, if you think about where I film down there, there's two big fans right next to it, and the extractor fan's just above. So the sound would be awful. Now, I've been moaning about the dull days, and I could really do with some heat. We're into the growing season seriously now, and I could do with some of that heat. I mean, some of the plants can do without it, as I've said. The Miltoniopsis, Masdes and Restrepias could probably do without it, but they'll have to live with it, because the majority of the plants love it. So, and yesterday we had one of those days. I mean, I don't know what we got up to yesterday, but I suspect we were up to 28 degrees plus. Let's have a quick look. So it's only 8:30 in the morning, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, we got up to 28, and the maximum humidity in here was nearly 90%. But as I said, these gadgets work back to front. So that humidity did not go with that temperature. That humidity went with the nighttime temperature, which has been down to 15. But at 28 degrees, I dropped to 52% yesterday. Now at 28 degrees, that's not bad going, bearing in mind the extractor fan sucks out my humidity and it has to be replaced as fast as possible. So perfect days for me are some sunshine and then a bit of cloud. Yeah, and that allows the extractor fan to take the heat out, at which point they shut down, and then the foggers and the soaking wet floor put the humidity straight back up again, and that cycle works really well in here. The only time I lose out really is when we get the temperature outside that's high, up in the high 20s. Obviously the cool air that I'm sucking in isn't cool air anymore, it's warm air. So all I'm doing is changing the air and dropping my humidity. I'm not actually gaining a lot. Last year I did try shutting the extractor and the inlet fan on one of those days. And although I maintained my humidity at 70%, the temperature got up to 35. Now that's high level stress. That's just not very good. Obviously I had my fans on gale force, and yeah, so I can't go down that road. I'd rather keep below 30. I'd rather keep below 28, but it doesn't always happen. Anyway, the problem with filming my updates is if I leave it till later in the day when it's nice and warm in here and nice and bright, like that, unfortunately the fans need to be on and the noise level's wrong. So I'm going to have to start doing my updates early in the day and get them out of the way before the old sun comes round and gets everything growing nicely. So it's just a matter of adjusting things. It's not really a moan. But yeah, quite honestly at the moment I could do with a couple of dull days. Having wished for the bright sunny warm days for ages, a couple of dull days would do me the world of good. I could knock out an awful lot of those updates, in quite a short space of time, and the sound would be good. what I came in for today is playing the which buds are going to open first, or in what order, preferably. Obviously, anybody who guessed that Shelob would be open, Shelob Tolkien was the first to open. That spike's looking good now. These are lovely blooms. Oh, look at the colours on that lip. They're gorgeous. They last pretty good too. The beauty with this one is there's several other spikes coming on there, and yet another one coming up through here. So there's 4 spikes on the go at the moment. So that'll be in bloom for ages. But my Odontoglossum naeviem has actually opened its first spike now, so we can get a better look at these blooms. Now these are delicate. These are not big blousy. Their beauty is in their delicacy. And it's not just the delicacy of the colours, it's the shape. Look at the frilliness going on here, yeah? Frilly petals and sepals, yeah? Gorgeous shape. They're not large blooms, doesn't matter, they make up for it. And obviously you've got that lovely yellow in the centre. And the patterning is just gorgeous. I love these. That's got quite a few spikes coming on. There's another one here, that'll open soon. I think there's another couple lurking somewhere. Getting lost in the sea of green here. Well, there's at least another one. I think there's another 2. I think there's 4 on there lurking around somewhere. But Mr. Hairy is just about gracing us with its presence now. Hang on, I can't see through a sea of roots here. So Dendrobium senile, which shouldn't really be blooming. It's well out of season, this plant. It's trying to do autumn on some of the canes as we head into summer, and the new growths haven't started yet, which should have started a month ago. So I got this out of season, and hopefully it will get back into season this year. And that way it should do better with its winter rest and a better blooming next year. But I hope that's in focus, because I'm holding this up above my head, making my dicky shoulder ache. But the centre of these is a lovely green when they first open, and lovely sort of yellow. It's not fully open yet, but it will be soon. What else have we got? The giant Coelogene over here, the Moriana Brockhurst, I think it's called. Yeah. First spike's going now, but they have lasted well. But I'll have to turn the plant round because the other spike is hiding behind this one, and that one's just opening. And then there's a third spike to come a bit later on that's a bit behind. So I'll have to tidy that one up. And on the tidying up front, Hercoglossum, having just taken most of the dead blooms off, is now looking good again. It spoils the look when you've got fading blooms, and especially when they, when they're brown and shriveled, because the blooms on this are reluctant to let go. They need a bit of help. So they hang on there, unfortunately, and then they spoil the look of the ones that are open. But the beauty of this is you've got to get underneath it. Again, these are not large blooms. They're delicate, and they're very pretty. And they light up, they glow when they get some sun behind them. Absolutely gorgeous. But sun doesn't come round here till about 10 o'clock, 10:30. Which means my filming time, my window is about 9 o'clock till about 11:30. Yeah? On a sunny day, because that's when all the fans are going to kick in once the heat starts building up. So I'm going to change things round a bit, and instead of watering, I've got mounts and holy clay pots to do today, so not a big job. But if I get on with those now, instead of rabbiting to you lot, that's a term of endearment, not having a go. But yeah, if I get on with that now, then I can get that done and get those filmed. And then that's, that's a pretty good section of my collection, because there's an awful lot of mounts in here. And well, I don't know what there is in the holy clay pot terms, about a dozen or so, I suppose. But that'll knock out quite a few, and that at least gets me started. It gets me going. So we'll get on with that today. And there was something else just about to open. Nope, it's gone. I'll catch it again when it does. But the sequence of the buds opening, the order in which they open, don't worry about it. It's just one of those things, me, as blooms open they get filmed, and that's probably the mainstay of a lot of my videos, new blooms. Everybody likes to see new blooms opening, so that's good stuff. But those of you who don't own something along the lines here, this is the Dendrobium Memoria Christa Erdmann. So it's actually registered, but it's a cross between Griffithianum and Farmeri. And unless you've had one of these types of orchids, you don't appreciate the rate at which these spikes progress. If you look back on that video where I played the game, this spike was about that big. And how many days ago was that? Not many. It's now that big and the buds are starting to form. I've never known a spike progress at the rate that this particular one does. Oh, and last time when I was filming it, I said, there's another bud on here somewhere. Well, look, I'll scan the plant. Can you see it? No, you can't, because it's hiding. It's round there, behind a leaf. There it is. How can you not see that? But if you look at the angle I was filming at, it's behind the cane and a leaf. It was hiding a very large spike. I mean, it's about the same size as that one, and it may even open first, who knows? But yeah, there's two good ones coming on that. So coming soon, and I mean soon with these progress at an incredibly fast rate. I wish all orchids did. Something else. What is it? What is it? Oh, the Disa spikes, the ones that were in their infancy are pushing on nicely now at the back, the pot closest to the window. And looking at the spike on this second pot, those, when I split this lot up from one pot full to three, they do spread. I picked the three largest ones to put in a pot, hoping, and well, virtually guaranteed they were going to bloom, and they are. So that was a good guess. But the next size down that I put in more of a collective pot, I wasn't expecting to bloom, but at least one of them is, and it's probably going to be first as well. I mean, the little community pot to grow on, I highly doubt they'll bloom, but they'll push on nicely this year, ready for next year. So yeah, there's going to be some Disas to go down the line. I didn't realise quite how much they spread. I mean, when I bought it, it was a single pot full, a community pot in bloom. And I didn't quite realise how many plants I would get out of that one pot. Well, if that rate of progress and spreading effect that this particular plant does, this is Disa cuensis, by the end of this year, I'm probably going to have 6 potfuls. And I don't want 6 potfuls of the same plant. So, anybody want some Disas? They're not that difficult. A lot of people just avoid these because they are very different. They're not difficult, they're just flipping different. And quite honestly, in the UK, come this time of year, they should be outside. They'll even take some sun. But they need to stand in water if you're going to put them outside, because obviously the evaporation rate will greatly increase. And if these dry out, they die. Simple as that. They do grow with their feet in water a lot of the time. So they're like a bog plant. That's how they work. And they are different to other orchids. They need to have plenty of hydration. And they need a reasonably acidic media as well, which is why there's peat in that mix. There's actual peat in there. I object to peat, but apparently to the people who grow these, including a nursery that specialises in them, they've tried many other substitutes and they're not as good. The media for these, with the peat in it and plenty of perlite, chopped up sphagnum moss, they grow and do well. So why rock the boat? That was my book. But as I said, I object to depleting our peat bogs for garden tubs and stuff like that, because it's not necessary. But for these it is. I managed to get some good coarse chunky peat from a specialised carnivorous plant nursery, which was the only place I could find it, but I asked somebody where they got theirs and got sent there. And while I was there, I got these pinguiculars, so it was a worthwhile trip. Sorted my Disas out and got some more flycatchers. And these work. I mean, they speak for themselves. They work. Those dratted little fungus gnats that get in your face, these catch them and dissolve them on their leaves. So they are carnivorous, even though they don't look like it. But they work. I mean, look how many, those would be in my face if they weren't stuck to those leaves. And up the back there, you can see them all stuck on there. But the Mexican type pinguiculas, they do need to keep warm. If they cool down too much in the winter, they change their whole appearance and their style. They switch from these leaf types to more like a succulent plant. They change the way their leaves are for the winter if they get too cool. But if you can keep them above a certain temperature, they'll continue to grow, albeit slow in our winter, but they keep going. And obviously they do much better the following year because they haven't had to sort of shut down, change their style, and then revert back to their growing leaves again. So yeah, they do the job. Where else? There's another. Oh, there's a good one. He's busy. Quite honestly, the yellow fly traps don't work for fungus gnats. They hardly ever get stuck on there, but boy do they get attracted to these. They really do, and they do the job. Yep, so I need to get some clothes on and get going in here now. I want to get this filming done, and as I said, I need to stick to the earlier part of the day so that the fans can stay off. Now, okay, my light level will be lower, but for filming plants, that doesn't matter. It's only for getting in really close to blooms where I need that extra bit of light. Otherwise, I've got to get the tripod out, and that's a faff. But, yeah, so yeah, I'll get going and see you next time. There's something niggling in my mind. There was something else I wanted to show you. Oh yes, when I mounted the Dinema polybulbon and I took the pieces off and mounted up the good bits lower down to allow it to climb, I had the base of the plant that I was going to throw away, and I changed my mind. I decided to actually mount that as well. Now I don't know whether that's going to branch out, but that particular piece of that plant should respond to the damage because it's had quite a lot of its growing leads taken off. Now if the plant can register that, it should branch now and it should start some new growths. I can't guarantee that, but if it does, then obviously there'll be one of those spare down the line a bit. I mean, I wouldn't pass it on in this state in case it doesn't make it, but if this starts pushing out new growths, as I said, the damage will register on the plant. I've lost all my growing tips. I've lost the places where I can bloom. Help! It should branch. It should start some new growths. And if it does, then there'll be one of them to go. Pretty little blooms, long-lasting and fragrant, but not large. Well, it's not a large plant, is it? You know, come on. It is a dwarf plant in the size of the bulbs and the leaves. But boy, when it gets growing, it grows like a flipping weed, and it'll take over wherever you plant it. I have seen these in pots, and they grow over the edge of the pot, down the side of the pot, and even underneath it. You end up with like a ball of a plant, and you can't even see the pot that it's in. They do grow. They grow fast when they get a hold. So that's stuff to come. The Brassica spike. You know me with buds, the detection of when a bud's going to open. Well, these buds now are starting to split at the end, yeah? Well, that's the separation of the non-lip petals and the sepals. And as soon as they start to separate, they're not long. And this one's even starting to split near the base. So these are going to be open quite soon, and these are big. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm still paranoid with that spike though. It's enormous. I mean, that's well over 2 feet long, and although it's sturdy, you know, you'd have to work hard to break that. You know, I've only got to overbalance or something and bash that against a wall or shelf or something, and it'll break. So I'm a little bit paranoid of going extremely careful with that spike at the moment. It's enormous. It's good, you know. Yeah, so I'll see you next time. As I say, there's plenty more buds to come, even though some things are going over. There's plenty more to come. And, you know, we'll obviously get to see those as I go around the plants, those that are, you know, either about to bloom or, you know, will do down the line. And obviously some will have gone over by then. This spike on this, I've forgotten what it is now, Epidendrum nocturnum. The spike is pushing on quite nicely. Trying to remember the rate of knots that this one progressed at, it didn't. This produced the spike and stopped, and it stayed like that for, must have been 5 or 6 months and did nothing. So I thought it had aborted, and then it just suddenly decided to spurt on and produce that single bloom, which promptly self-pollinated and dropped. And this one may well do the same, but I'll make sure I get it on film before it does that this time, even if I have to come out here with a torch and film the flipping thing in the dark. But yeah, it's pushing on. And this one hasn't stalled. This one is looking as though it's going to continue to grow and then bloom. So yeah, that one did a funny, that one. But this is a much better cane this time, much stronger, much better. It's going mad with the roots at the base as well. That's good stuff. Even some of the older roots are branching out. So it's happy where it is. It's a good sign, you know, good root growth, attaching to your mount, pushing on, tips staying green until they get to their full size, all good stuff. That's why I like mounted orchids, I like to see my roots. Okay, let's go and get some breakfast and get myself sorted out for the day. I haven't got anything else to do today apart from working out here, so I can take my time and hopefully get some filming done and get going on these updates. But, yeah, pretty good stuff, isn't it? Spidery nonsense. You know, it is often labelled as Miltassia, but strictly speaking it's Bretonia. So it's effectively a cross between a Brassia of sorts and a Miltonia of sorts. But yeah, lovely patterns, and the colours on the lip are just stunning. You've got that lovely purpley colour, and then the spots are a lovely chocolate brown edged with cream, bordering on yellow. Yeah, and that's pretty good stuff. And then the deep maroon with the little yellow banding on the petals and sepals. That's a good combination of colours. That works. That's good stuff. Okay, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.